And welcome to People. I'm Jewel Hillary, and I'm your host today. Let's go ahead and get started. March is Women's History Month, and as we honor the achievements of women around the world, this is also a time to examine ways to improve conditions for women. And while Black women are noted as one of the highest educated demographics, as well as the group of Americans most likely to start a new business, they're finding obstacles in the workplace. Our first guest, Jennifer Farmer, has literally written the book on plotting a path ahead in the office and beyond. It's called First and Only, a Black woman's guide to thriving at work and in life. And Jennifer joins us now. Hi, Jennifer, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you on the show. So let's get right into it. Tell us about this book that is out and the inspiration behind why you decided to write it.
So First and Only celebrates and documents the plight of Black women who find themselves as the first, the only in a professional setting and in life. And what I found is that, a lot of times when there's a career charting accomplishment, we will celebrate a Black woman, but we don't always understand the unique struggles that Black women have in workplace environments. The struggles can be as simple as, how do I assert myself in a way that I am heard? If I assert myself, will I be considered an angry Black woman? How do I advocate for myself in a way that gets me what I want, but also in a way that does not shut down the other person? Will I be penalized for advocating for myself in the first place? And I wrote the book because I consumed tons of leadership content, and I would read the books, I would close them, and I would notice they didn't speak to the issues that Black women face: the politics of hair, the politics of hair tone, the politics of what we wear, how we communicate, when we communicate. And I really wanted to offer something to Black women and to women who work with Black women, and even men who want to understand how to better show up and be a better ally in the workplace. And so I wrote the book from my perspective as a Black woman. I included feedback from other Black women. And my hope is that this book is a resource, that it's a comfort, and that it also validates the experience of so many Black women across the country.
Okay, wonderful. And so can you give any more details in terms of maybe specific points or tidbits that are in the book that you find have been useful for yourself, but would also be useful for someone reading this book?
Sure, I can. So from youth, many Black women have been taught that we need to work twice as hard to be considered half as good. In the book, I talk about the ways in which that can cost us emotionally and can also compromise our physical health. And so I encourage Black women to really question how much they take on. I encourage Black women in the book to continue to build allies, and the allies can be across racial group. But the importance of really understanding that in order to succeed, we need people who are championing us. And so I tell readers, when you walk into a new workplace, one of the first things that you should do is learn the rules, but also identify who could support me here, who are my allies. I also talk about the importance of embracing vulnerability and being intentional about finding safe spaces where we can be vulnerable. So many of us have been taught that we have to have it all together, that we can never say when we need help, that if we don't figure it out on our own, that we're a failure. And so I'm encouraging my readers to be intentional about finding safe spaces and taking a risk at being vulnerable. Certainly you want to do that in a way that's appropriate to the workplace, but we should not feel like we have to carry everything on our shoulder and that we can't acknowledge when we are struggling, when we need assistance, or when we just need someone to talk to.
Yeah, and on that note, talk about the importance of mentorship and how vital that is professionally in this day and time.
Well, I think the importance of mentors is without dispute. Many of us don't know what's possible until we see it. And a mentor can come and can help you by outlining what they've done, but also helping you expand your imagination. It is incumbent on women as we are, advancing in our career to think about who we're bringing along, but also to think about what we might need at different points in our careers. So I think that mentorship is key, it's critical. And, in the context of, years ago, people would say, well, the way that you get promoted or the way that you get advancement is by your networks. But that advice does not always talk about the ways that networks they can also disadvantage you. And that if you are not a part of a community, you won't hear about the jobs. And so in First and Only, I'm telling people who are in positions of power, people who have privilege, to throw open your network, to be intentional about looking for Black women who you can support. And you can, when you think about the position that's open, you can expand the universe of who you suggest. If your network just looks just like you, then the people who advance are going to look just like you. So this book is written to Black women, but there's something for all of us to do. There's something for men to do. There's something for all of us.
All right. And speaking on, continuing talking about mentorship, are there any mentors that you had when you were growing up? You are extremely successful. I know in addition to this book, you have another book and a successful podcast. And so I imagine that you have mentors that helped you to get to your place of success.
Definitely. One of my first mentors, I met her at 14 years old, and she followed me throughout high school. She followed me throughout college and was just tremendous in helping me see what was possible. But I also look for people, even now, who are doing something that I aspire to, and I try to take, lessons from them.
All right. Well, Jennifer, is there anything else that you would like to add in terms of your book and, just things that can encourage us as women in general, but Black women specifically?
Well, I really want Black women to pick up the book. I want managers who support diverse teams to pick up the book. I want Black women to be willing to do womanhood differently. And that means questioning some of the things that we learned in childhood, undoubtedly for well-meaning adults, that could be counterproductive. And so those are some of the things that I'm sitting with. And so those are some of the things that I hope people will take away when they read First and Only, A Black Woman's Guide to Thriving at Work and in Life.
All right. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate having you, and I look forward to getting my hands on this book myself. Definitely an asset. All right.